Hello everyone, this week's PowerPoint will be on your fourth writing assignment, the defendant's motion to suppress. So what is a motion to suppress? A motion to suppress is what you file when you're asking the judge to keep something out at trial. So for example, if you want to keep some evidence out, you will file a motion to suppress. So the defendant's motions are usually opposed by the district attorney's office. So in your last writing assignment, it was a stipulated motion, which was great. Usually just call the DA's paralegal and ask if they'll stipulate. They get back to you and say yes or no. Most of the time for simple things like motions to continue, it's not a big deal. But when you're dealing with a motion to suppress, if you're saying I want to keep this piece of evidence out, of course the DA is going to say no, that's our case. We want to keep that in. So I will explain what we need to do when the motions are opposed. So the defense must file a separate motion for every item or statement they want suppressed. They cannot all be in one motion. So if we want to suppress various things, we have a motion for each item or statement. So the motion to suppress assignment, you are to prepare a motion to suppress for Nicole's case. You must find a New Mexico case to support your argument. You must also submit a request and a notice of hearing. You will submit 3 documents total. So, what would you like to suppress? In the real world, we would suppress everything that we possibly can. For this situation, you are only choosing one. So, you can choose to suppress the statements made by Nicole, which is Miranda, or you can suppress the evidence taken from the barn, an illegal or warrantless search. So I am letting you choose which one you want to be the focus of your motion. Like always, you use the caption I gave you from day one. So make sure you're using the same caption. No matter what forms you find or examples you find online, use what I gave you as part of the class. That's the thing. Your attorney will say, I want you to use my caption. I want you to use my format. And so please make sure you're using what I gave you. Comes now should be at the top of every motion. It should start off every motion. So make sure you're using that, the attorney's name, and the defendant's name. Okay. Using numbered paragraphs, you'll do just like you did in the last motion. So every paragraph will be numbered. So the motion. Think of it like you're telling a story to the judge. The judge has a lot of cases. He's got a big docket. They don't always know which case this is exactly, and they don't know all the facts yet. They haven't heard the case. You're filing this before the trial. So you need to explain to the judge a little bit about the case, what you're trying to suppress, then give them the case to back it up. So this is what you need to include in your motion. First, number 1 must be her charges. Don't sway from this. Number 1 must be her charges with the statutes. Okay? You can find this information in the indictment. So numbered paragraph 1 would be something like Nicole Mannion is charged with 1 count of first-degree murder in the statute and 1 count of tampering with evidence in the statute. Okay? Something worded to that extent. Okay? So that's number 1. So you're explaining to the judge, here's what she's charged with. Okay? Number 2 contains some facts from our case. So you're going to give the judge some information about the case. Okay? After that, it's completely up to you. You continue with the numbered paragraphs, but 1 and 2 must contain this information. So, your motion getting started. What are you trying to suppress? You're going to explain to the court. So you've given the court the charges, you've given the court some facts. Now you're saying, this is what happened and this is what needs to be suppressed. Use case law to back up your argument. It must be a fairly recent case. I do get cases from like 1942. There are plenty of recent cases that you can use. And there are, actually there's one case that's almost identical, not in facts, but in the search to our case. And so you don't have to use that case, but if you find it, you'll know. But there are a lot of cases that you can use as long as, you can apply it to ours. So you talk about your New Mexico case in your motion. You say this is how it's similar to ours, this is why the court ruled to suppress, and this is why the court should rule the same way in our case. Okay, so again, a story. Here are the charges, here are some facts, this is what needs to be suppressed, here's a New Mexico case, this is how it's similar to ours, and you should rule the same way. Okay, so you're arguing in the motion, okay, and you're requesting a hearing. You will not have a brief in support of. I know we do this on purpose. Renee's class, when you do a motion to suppress, you have a brief in support of. So there are two ways that it's done in the court, with the brief or without. So we're giving you both experiences here. So with this motion, you are just arguing it in the motion, and you're requesting a hearing, so you will argue it at the hearing. Then you wrap it up. You end with a wherefore clause. So every motion starts with a comes now and ends with a wherefore. Usually, these more extensive motions do. So when you end with the wherefore, you're saying wherefore, and you're explaining why it should be suppressed. It's a short, couple of sentences at the most. It's just explaining why, and it's not numbered, okay? It's kind of like the comes now. Then you need your signature block, same signature block that we've been using the whole time, same certificate of service. There's no page limit or required number of paragraphs, okay? It's usually about 3 to 4 pages long, and the paragraphs, the way they're numbered after 1 and 2 is completely up to you, okay? In addition, you need a request and a notice of hearing filled out properly. Use the local rules to find the forms. The forms are right next to each other, so when you find one, you'll find the other. You need to read the forms carefully. A lot of students just look at them, download them, and fill them in without really reading everything. So please, it will make a huge difference in your grade if you do not read them carefully. It's asking you for certain things, so make sure you're reading them carefully. There's no order this time since the parties do not stipulate, so that's where the notice and request come in. Refer to the assignment for the information you need to fill out both documents. So when you pull up a notice and request, it's asking you to fill in certain information. That information is on the assignment for this week. So if you find a form and the information I gave you doesn't fit into that form, you have the wrong form. You're more than likely, if you're searching through OneSource, you're going to pull up the civil forms. Those come up automatically, and students use those, and they're the wrong ones. So make sure they are criminal forms and fill them in correctly. So your motion to suppress assignment, you're preparing the motion for Nicole. You're going to pick one item to suppress. You will find a New Mexico case to support your argument, fairly recent. You must also submit a request and a notice of hearing. They are 2 separate documents, and they each have a caption, okay? So you're submitting 3 documents total. If you have any questions, please ask me. Most of you already do, things with format or things with am I on the right track. That's what I'm here for. So if you're not taking advantage of that, please do. I'm here to help you. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and have a good week.